Hello everybody and welcome back to King Game Reviews. I am the King 4427 giving you my in-depth, unscripted reviews of modern games of this generation. So, today we will be taking a look at The Order 1886. Alright, let's get into it. 1886 was a game made by Ready at Dawn Studios and was made, pretty much they were who originally worked for Naughty Dog, and they stepped out to make this game. I guess this is the game they've always wanted to make for a while. So, The Order 1886 is an incredibly cinematic third-person cover-based shooter that takes place in the year 1886. It pretty much revolves around the Knights of the Round Table. Yes, you heard me right, the Knights of the Round Table. In the year of 1886, pretty much the story goes that around the year that the Holy Grail was discovered, with King Arthur and all of that, they found the Black Water of Life, which pretty much could heal all wounds and keep them alive for many, many years. So the original Knights of the Round Table, and a few new ones who have joined the scene, have been staying alive fighting off supernatural beings like werewolves and vampires and all that. And that's actually a very interesting thing. It's a very good concept for this game, and I think that if done right, could make an amazing franchise. You know, they could span decades, millennia pretty much, making new games. In theory. In reality, I think this game is kind of a mess. I didn't exactly know what it wanted to be, and it was way too cinematic in comparison to how much gameplay it had. But, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get into the game. Now the story pretty much revolves around Sir Galahad of the Knights, and it starts off kind of mysterious. You really don't know what's going on. It starts off with him getting tortured, and he tries to escape the Order and jumps into the freaking water off a building, and you're like, damn, this looks pretty impressive. It starts off with him working for the Order, and then it flashes back to him working for the Order, and you pretty much get introduced to the enemies, the supernatural enemies, your weapon system and all that, and the game begins as that and leads into the flashback later. So let's get right into the gameplay. The game, mostly, I'll talk about what you do most in this game, it's mostly QuickTime events. There are so many QuickTime events in this game, it is insane, it is ridiculous how many QuickTime events in comparison to actual gameplay you do. And I'm not talking about walking around and talking and looking at these objects. I'm talking about shooting shit, which is what this game should have been doing most of the time. Let me give you a good example. In the beginning of the game, it puts you through a very long cutscene. And I got no problem with long cutscenes. I'm fine with long cutscenes, as long as the gameplay equals out to it. The first thing they do is make you hold triangle, and then they put your ass through another semi-long cutscene with the running section, where you hobble through the level, and then you have to do a few QuickTime events through that, and that's how they introduce you through the game. That could pretty much be said through a lot of the game. Most of the stuff you do in this game is QuickTime event, or is a certain thing where you have to move your cursor to the side and then do the QuickTime event. And if people complain about this game saying it's too much QuickTime event, it really is. I'm really sorry I'm saying the same thing over and over, but it is too much QuickTime event. They need to freaking focus more on the third-person cover-based shooting that's in this game. Let's talk about that shit. The third-person cover-based shooting in this game is good. It's solid. It's pretty much Gears of War. If anybody's ever played Gears of War, you'll be very familiar with this style of gameplay. Only you'll have a few steampunk-inspired weapons developed by Nikola Tesla. Yes, Nikola Tesla is actually in this game, and he develops weapons for the Order. So you'll be getting some lightning, electric Tesla-based weaponry, like an arc lightning cannon, which is really badass because it takes out enemies in one hit. You'll be getting, of course, your standard revolvers and a flare gun, which sounds stupid. Oh no, it's a thermite rifle. I apologize, a thermite rifle that fires off some thermite, and then you light it with a flare and it blows everything on fire, which is the best gun in the game. It's freaking amazing. The only real problem with this is that they take your guns away in certain cutscenes. They take your guns away, or different chapters. You don't get to keep the arsenal that you think you want. So building up your arsenal throughout the game is a terrible idea, because they're just going to replace your guns. But as I said, the cover-based shooting is absolutely solid. It puts you in these, waist-high wall sections of the game where a bunch of the same generic dudes come out. I'm serious. Every single guy in this game, you'll see him quite a few times before you gun him down. They've even added a few other little things to the third-person shooting. They've added a slow-mo meter that you can fill up by killing opponents, and then by pressing, I believe it is L1 or was it R1, you go into a super slow-mo event where you whip out your gun and then you just continuously fire rapidly at the opponent until they're dead, and then it moves on to the next guy where you do the same thing. And it's a pretty cool mechanic. I gotta admit, I felt pretty badass pressing that button and just blowing away, just and taking them all out. That was really cool. Everything else, though, is pretty straightforward. You shoot some guys, you run down a hallway, you might have to solve a puzzle or climb something, but then you just go to a high wall, or you wait for the elongated cutscene, hit a quick time event, and then shoot some more people. It's incredibly repetitive in nature. It's just, I would say it's kind of boring, but I was engaged by these third-person sections. I just wish there was more of them in the game. But anyway, another thing they implement in this game is stealth sections. And I know what you're thinking, well, stealth sections, that's pretty cool. I mean, I've played games that have that, like Revelations 2, The Last of Us, Assassin's Creed. No! These are very different. This game tries to be as cinematic as possible, so in its mind, you can't get caught once. So if you do get caught, you die. Straight up. There's no like, I'm gonna escape and then I'm gonna hide behind the wall and then come back around and then shoot them, or I can just, there's no escaping this. They see you, boom, start over. It's ridiculous. That being said, though, I felt very tense when I was playing this game in those stealth sections when I learned that death was instant. It was a piss off when I didn't get it right. You can, however, stealth kill opponents in the game, but you cannot shoot them or you die. You can stealth kill people. By pressing the triangle button, sneaking up behind them, it'll activate a small little cinematic where you stab them and everything. These stealth sections are just okay, but again, mixed with the incredible amount of cinematics, and I'm not even kidding, a lot of the game is cinematic. Even whole chapters in the game are nothing but a cutscene. There's not much of them in the game compared to the quick time events and shooting sections. I feel as though they need to put more in. Now, playing through this game, you're going to be meeting a few enemy types. Now, this game promoted werewolves. It said, hey, you're going to shoot some werewolves in this game. You're going to have a great time. You only fight werewolves twice in this game. Okay? There are two sections in the game, in the beginning and near the end of the game, where you get to gun down some werewolves. And pretty much the style of the werewolves is they play just like those little vermin things in Dead Space. The ones that come up and hit you and then they run back behind cover and they peek cover and then they run out, hit you, duck behind cover. That's all they really do. You gun them down as they're running towards you, you dodge, you rinse, repeat until a button prompt tells you that you can one-hit kill them. That's it. The werewolf AI in this game is terrible. It is straight up dumb compared to the regular human beings in the game, who a lot of them look the same in character model, and you just gun them down repeatedly in a third-person cover-based shooting, which is solid. I'll say that. The gunplay is very solid. I just wish the same amount of effort was put into the werewolf AI, or just a better program for the werewolves. I don't understand what's so hard about just straight up fighting them with a knife. And those are really the only two types of enemies you fight, humans and werewolves. But you fight humans way more than you fight werewolves, if I'm being honest. Now, going into the way this game looks, the level design for this game, I mean, straight up, this is the best looking game available on the PS4. If you're just a dude who's all like, graphics, man, these graphics, you'll be looking at this game for a very long time, just like, whoa, wow, I was shocked at how beautiful this game was. It could have been a movie, that's how good it was. And I know a lot of people are going to make this cliched comparison, but I would compare Order 1886's graphical comparison to Rise Son of Rome. The games both represent the best looking game on their consoles until the next big dog appears. For Xbox, that would be Halo 5. For PS4, I'd say that'd be Uncharted 4. But at the same time, even though these levels look so beautiful and they're amazing to look at, even the cutscenes are great, the real gameplay is so constricted, very linear. Just, you walk around through a very linear corridor, you hear some dialogue, and maybe you push something out of the way, or you hit a switch, and then it puts you through another linear hallway where you gun people down. That's it. There's a few things to look at in the game, but it's pretty much worthless. Just saying, hey, look how much detail we put into this object. There's really nothing other than a few PS4 trophies that you get for looking at all these. So I'd say it's worthless. Now, even though I've said some really mixed things about this game, it's really cool, the shooting is great, the game looks amazing. That's all I can really say that's good about this game. I gotta move into the cons, even though it sounds like I've been complaining. I haven't really been complaining that much. The first big con I have for this game is that it's incredibly short. It's 5 to 8 hours long. And I've heard people say that it's 10 hours. Some people have played it for 10 hours. But I heard that's from a New Game Plus mode. 5 to 10 hours. I beat the game personally in 5 hours. That's pretty poor. For a full price title that looks this amazing, that's wrong. You can't sell a game like that. And New Game Plus is no excuse. Another big complaint would be the bosses. They're terrible. The werewolf, the Lycans as they call them, the Elder Lycans, they're terribly stupid. You fight them in a quick time event. Basically, what happens is it puts you in a thing where you cannot shoot the werewolf. You whip out your knife, and then it puts you in a thing where you're kind of facing him back and forth, and then a prompt will come where you have to hit the right bumper or right stick, left, right, or down, so you can dodge his attacks, and then you kill him by hitting him with the left and right triggers. If you enjoy doing this a lot, you're playing the Order 1886. Just down, side, side. You're fighting bosses in the Order 1886. There's only 2 real werewolf bosses in the entire game. Near the beginning, like an hour and a half into the game, and right at the end. And it's the same damn fight. It's so boring. I killed this thing no problem. I don't get why they couldn't think of a better boss. And if you're going to have werewolves, if you're going to fight the werewolf, come up with something really cool. Even the Van Helsing game on the PS2, which was the Devil May Cry ripoff, had a better werewolf fight. Think about that. And as I said before, the AA for the werewolves is stupid, so I'm not going to go into that anymore. And the biggest damn complaint that I had, and I've been repeating, there's so many QuickTime events and cinematics in this game in comparison to real gameplay that it just feels uneven. It's so bad in my opinion. I know the game is trying to be a cinematic game, but in terms of cinematic games, this is one of the worst. This is one of the worst cinematic games I've ever played. And I'm sorry that if you absolutely love this game, but it's just not that great. Sure, the graphics are pretty and the gameplay, when it happens, is solid. That just doesn't do it. It's not good enough. It needs to have length and depth to its gameplay. Not just third-person covered with a few one-hit kill stealth sections with a bunch of QuickTime events. And I know I prompted Asura's Wrath by saying that game's amazing, but at least, and here's my biggest problem, at least Asura's Wrath had a good story. It had a very interesting story that had a meaningful ending. Whether you bought the stupid DLC or not, you felt as though the game actually ended. With the Order 1886, it builds up for a sequel. It wants that sequel so bad that it throws it in your face like, please give us a sequel. Pretty please give us a sequel. With this bullshit kind of cliffhanger ending. It pretty much ends with a QuickTime button press, and then it's like, it's over. But it's not over. See you guys next time in the Order 2012 or 15 or whatever. And I really didn't care too much about the story. The whole thing about werewolves and vampires, there are vampires, it's kind of interesting, you know? They even go so far as to include Jack the Ripper in the story, which is kind of cool. But I was mostly bored by the cliches this game tried to throw at me in the story. You know, it followed the book as straight and narrow as it could. Just, here's what you do, A, B, C, D, E, F, you did it, okay? There's no deviation. You know what's going to happen before it happens. And at the price it's asking for, brand new $60, used $45, $40, I don't think it's worth it. The gameplay, when it happens, is solid. The graphics look amazing. But none of that matters if I'm not engaged in the story, if there's too many cutscenes and QuickTime events in comparison to real gameplay, and a story I don't give a damn about with stupid werewolf AI and dumb boss fights that rarely happen. I'm sorry, this game has its great things going for it. I hope there's actually a sequel for this game, and if it happens, I hope they fix every complaint that everybody's ever had about this game. Make it longer. Make more action sequences in comparison to your long cutscenes. Make a more interesting story. You guys can do it. I believe in you. This game's just not going to cut it for now. If you really want the order, wait till it hits at least $30. I'll say $30 might be a good price for this, but it's full price, and even at $40, it's not worth it. In the end, I'll give the order 1886 a 5 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next King Game Reviews.